To add or subtract rational expressions with different denominators, the first step, factor if you have a trinomial or difference of two squares, and then find the least common denominator. Here, in this example, nothing can be factored, so we just find the least common denominator. Among 10 and 15, the least common multiple would be 30. And among letters, you always take the highest exponent. So the least common denominator would be 30x squared. Now you compare the common denominator with the first denominator and figure out what is missing. Well, the x squared is already there. How could you go from 10 to 30? What would you multiply? Right, you would multiply by 3. So you multiply the numerator by 3 to make up the difference. For the second denominator, again you compare it with the common denominator to figure out what is missing. 15 can go into 30 2 times. And for the second denominator, we already have an x, but we need x squared. Right, we would need to multiply by another x to turn it into the common denominator. So therefore, we multiply 7 times 2x. At this point, multiply, so that would give us 9 plus 14x all over 30x squared. Nothing can be simplified or canceled out or even factored, so this would be our final answer. Let's look at another example. And bear with me, I need to pull up my next problem. We have this expression and we need to simplify it or add it. The first step again is to find the least common denominator. Well, you would have to include both x plus 3 and x minus 3 as the common denominator. So we'll put those together down there. Now to figure out what to multiply the numerators by, you compare each denominator with the common denominator to see what is missing. The first denominator, x plus 3, in order to make it a common denominator, you would have to multiply it by x minus 3. Whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do the same thing to the numerator. So we would need to multiply that 2 up there also by x minus 3. Look at the second denominator and compare it with the common denominator. What is missing? Right, in order to make it a common denominator, we would have to include the x plus 3. So to balance it out, multiply 4 times x plus 3. Now at this point, distribute everything and combine like terms in the numerator. So we have 2x minus 6 plus 4x plus 12, and that's still all over your common denominator. Now we can combine like terms. So we have up top 6x plus 6 all over the common denominator x plus 3 times x minus 3. And depending on the directions, it's probably a good idea to factor if you can factor some more, or simplify or even cancel. In the numerator, we can factor out a 6. So if we factor out a 6, we're left with x plus 1. And that's still all over your common denominator, x plus 3 times x minus 3. Again, toward the end, after you've factored, see if you can factor some more or possibly cancel out. In the next video, we will look at one more example, adding and subtracting rational expressions with different denominators.